Good night, everyone. First of all, apologies for being late. Good
That's
night
all right.
to the fellow panelists. Thank you for having me. My thoughts on the matter is that we've seen over the period of time in recurring governments across the region and beyond that individuals do not want certain bills in place because it will place a spotlight on certain activities.
Mm-hmm.
So I am not surprised. I do not expect much from any of the political parties pertaining to that because in terms of certain activities, it is a dangerous bill for those who may want to do wrong. And that is not speaking about a particular individual, that's just speaking about certain persons who may be a part of the 30, no matter what time period. So that's the reason we've had such a serious problem in getting the integrity bill into place. But you sent me something pertaining to Bermuda, and I believe that was a brilliant step. Can we do that in Barbados? I hope so. But I'm not sure if it will be done soon. And that's as much as I can say about that.
That it be in place and become law.
I believe so. It's just a matter of persons rallying together through the processes, like the march, even being active on the show, no, speaking to persons who may be associated to the persons who have the decision making power. But overall, I believe we need a whole system shift. The Westminster system is one that does not promote certain bills, such as the integrity bill. Look how long it took Britain to implement it. Over 50 years they were talking about it, and then they finally did it. So it's a matter of, yes, the public saying we need this, crying out, protesting. As like Mr. Nigel Newton, he says civil disobedience. So that's much of it. Much of it. I can say. But in terms of chain reactions, okay, so we're looking at the capacity of the coffers being able to impact or help persons, everyday individuals, right? So say corruption is at a point where it may be or maybe not be. What can happen is that, well, that means that if I'm on welfare, if I'm supposed to be able to get $500 in benefits, I'm only getting two, right? Then what happens is then the same mother or father who is struggling to, pay the bills, do certain things, then they can't buy certain things for their child. So guess what? It becomes an argument, and the child says, "Man, I'm listening to you." Then the men on the block say, "Man, come and do this, come and do that," right? And the chain reaction goes on and on and on and on. So
Mm,
it's a trickle effect. I could give you more examples if you want, right?
mm,
Another example. If I come and say, okay, I am going to, you know, do what I do with corruption. No, because I'm a party faithful, I'm going to be able to say, oh man, let me move this money, da da da, etc. etc. And this is not pertaining to Barbados. I'm looking at other scenarios that I
yes.
I, I observed. Right, this happened in like places like Nepal too. So what happened is that the party becomes more powerful, and then with the ability to have more money means that they will win more elections. Right. The only reason that occurs and parties still fall is because one, the people who want the other party, or two, they become so corrupt and their egos become so inflated that they forget to handle the small man and deal with the small man, right? So what's going to happen is that crime is going to raise, right? Then another thing is going to happen too is that then when schools ask for certain resources, they can't get the certain resources that may be technologically advanced to help persons who may be special needs or not be able to recognize certain persons who are special needs, but they're in advanced schools, that type of thing. And then guess what? They're lashing out, and the schools like, oh, super animated, chain reaction, chain reaction, chain reaction, chain reaction. So it starts at the top. But the thing about it would hope, and I always believe, and I spoke to someone in the BLP about this, a young person said, why don't we come and teach the leaders, BRD, have a program in the party that can teach persons about the chain reactions one and how their power will affect individuals. Because I realized, and I said, oh, I'm 22 years old, but the reason they sat down from being around certain persons a little bit, that it's not that they're self-observed. For some individuals, is that they were never taught the process of sitting down and say, like, if I make this decision, how does it affect A, B, C, D, F, G? Some just don't care, but then there are some who care, but they make bad decisions, and then it goes from there. So it's a chain reaction. So when you are corrupt and corruption goes on, it affects everybody. It affects my ability to get certain licenses for vending because the vending license can go. It affects the price of if we're looking at the social I think social compact. Yeah, the social compact instead of the social compact being 500 million, it could be 300 million. Then it affects the police because the police can't get enough money to put on to bring on more police. And when you can't bring on more police, then guess what? More crime because you can't cover the different districts. So this just me spinning off the top of my head. So yeah,
Like this, what does it do? What does it say to you? What is it saying to you?
it says to me that any major hustle that would affect one the bigger persons who are doing it, or if it's getting too big, we want to cut. That's what the government is doing, and I'm just putting it in layman terms because you in any society, right, or majority of societies, when something occurs, right, that the government is not getting a huge cutoff or their associates are losing out, they always come and find some billionaires across the board. You can look at any government, right? To use a perfect example, when the tech boom, the dot-com boom happened, the US hustled to figure out laws to make money off of Google and all the other companies that were growing. So, you know, that's what happens, right? Is it right? It's 100% wrong, especially in a small market like Barbados. And the um, what do we call it? Not the salaries. The cost of living is going up, and your ability to sustain your lifestyle is not so good. So the thing about it is that that's what's happening, and I believe persons who are directly affected by this should protest, speak out, write letters, that type of stuff. Because at the end of the day, as I always preach, you need to have multiple incomes to survive in Barbados, and doing this limits that. I think that Mr. Griffith, the chairman, he looking at the article, reading the article, he made some very good contributions and suggestions. So I don't know as why, but as was suggested by Zico and also done to maybe a reason, certain pressures. So is what it is. The only way to stop it is what we've done with the cybercrime bill, what we've done pertaining to I can't remember what they call it, where it's happening bill. So we have to keep that pressure on because at the end of the day, when it all said and done, the prime minister is going to go on her podium and she's going to mention organizations like this and also such as the NNP and that type of stuff. So we just have to keep the pressure on because via her announcements, we know it's working. So you have to keep the pressure on. That's what I always said. Once it finishes this degree, will try to go in the middle of the degree so it could be a lobbyist, right? When it comes to certain things like this, you need a lobbyist on your behalf. And in the US and other countries, they have lobbyists that can do certain things, but there needs to be a lobbyist for the poor people, right? Someone who is not politically inclined, and you can use different descriptions pertaining to that. But the Airbnb persons or small businesses need to find some way to form their own organization and start to play the same game with the hoteliers. That's the only way out we can see pertaining to the solution, but also looking at civil disobedience as well. They need to form their own organization as soon as possible and find some sort of lawyers that will want to do it on a pro bono or a reduced rate and attack. Right? That's the honest to God truth. Because if they don't come together, God help them and the goose good. Looks for it. Can I
Yes,
can I say something?
of course.
Marcia, right now this is chess, and it is upsetting, right? But it makes me know how to think about, things that you would say don't be paranoid, man. That's not connected, but when you look at it, it actually connected. So we as individuals gotta sit down and really study ourselves and see the strategy because everything connected. So some person might say, man, that fire hazard thing, not just because it is a fire hazard, but it could be connected. We just ain't seeing it. There's a game that's being played, and really and truly, right? I ain't saying that we losing. I just want to say, right, that right now there are steps ahead, and we need to start to connect the dots. Even if they call us conspiracy theorists, etc., we gotta start connecting the dots and prepare because we can't keep waiting for when they're gonna send a law to Parliament, and then we start to react. We gotta be so that Marcia, I ain't be real, you're right. It's just me pretending calling you. I think something coming, and etc. etc. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You're being paranoid. Just you're preparing yourself because the signs are there, and there are signs. It's just that they're so not together. They seem so
Yes.
separate.
Yes, Theory.
You know what I'm saying? That is be like,
Understand what you're saying.
yeah,
Russ, Terry, you're right. Yeah, go ahead, Terry.
there's a movie that I want everyone to watch, right? And it has become one of my favorite movies. It's something that Lumumba um, told me to watch. It's
Mm-hmm.
called The Spook That Sat at the Door.
The
One of the
spook.
that sat at the door.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most powerful movies I ever watched in my life. And when I need certain advice, I go back to it. The idea of the movie,
I'm
right?
gonna look for it.
The idea of the movie, right, is that this guy he was called Uncle Tom, and just because we have some more things. He was called Uncle Tom. He was trying to get in the CIA, so they called him a traitor, etc., etc. So long and short of the story, he learned everything he could learn from the CIA, and he went back to the community and formed a group to fight against the American government. Watch it for yourself, you can see, right? And take your time and really watch it. What I'm trying to say, right, with the spook that started the door, is the reverse of it. We have persons who are coming to the poor people and presenting themselves as, you know, someone that you could trust, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
But then on the back end, they are really working for the other person, right? There's certain derogatory terms that we have in Barbados that for persons are like that, black person are like that, but we will not use. But the thing about it, right, is that we have to understand that those individuals are not for us, and what can we do to rectify it? Right? I'm not. And don't watch it say that I said watch this book I do, and I'm trying to incite violence. That's not the idea of the movie. The movie is focused on how a person can learn all they can from a community and gentrify it,
Mm-hmm.
elevate the community. So we are seeing a situation whereby the person may be black as me and you, but they're surrounded by who they're surrounded by. They want to be in the alcove, who they want to be in the alcove. And it's not to a particular individual, and they're going to do what they can to satisfy that desire of those individuals, black or white, but in a higher class or the elite. Right? So don't watch that movie. Another Zico, there's a book I want you to read. Gentleman is right. He's absolutely right. But a phrase that will add to that about Bayesian parallax is that the prime minister or honorable prime minister has a phrase one on one blow kills all code. So the Bayesian mentality and the Bayesian believing is the all code. So one on one blow kills the all code. But what it will add to that as well is that we as a people, yes, you asked me about the president, how I feel about the president. But we as a people have to keep our foot on the gas in terms of stopping the rise of what they're doing, right? We also have to keep our foot on their necks to control them as much as possible as the persons who place them in government. Person may see that as a disrespectful analogy, but the thing about it is exactly the situation because people are the person who's supposed to have control, not the 29 or 30 persons in parliament. Now, pertaining to President Mr. The Honorable Jeffrey Bostic, our future president, I would say if I had to choose an individual, I would choose him. Right? Persons may not agree with me, but given that it was a choice between the opposition leader and our prime minister, I think that it was a fair choice, and hopefully in the future we can potentially be a good president. No, we can look at the fact that obviously he is a certain faithful of certain individuals, so be it. But the thing about it is that who are the other options, right? I heard talk about the senator, I can't remember her name,
Liz Thompson.
Thompson. And be quite
Okay.
frank, I would not like that at all, and I will leave it there.
And then we close.
Um, Zico, you're on to something, right? I'm gonna share something with you. I've been telling persons, I told persons from we said 2022 that Charles Blackman is gonna be a minister in Parliament, right? If you didn't know, I used to be one of the young socialists, so it was exposed to certain things. That was planned from 2020. So what you're seeing now with Charles Blackman was planned every since. I said that to say this, so you're not wrong. I don't know about Mr. Bossick, but you know about that for sure. That's one. Two, no. So you could tell me if you're in agreement with me or not. I believe that the president should not be a ceremonial president. I believe that the president should be a person, one that is selected by the people of Barbados, but should be, how to put it, should be placed under certain stipulations and restrictions pertaining to who can be president. This is what I'm going to say. That person, if their family were politically aligned, there should be some sort of committee that shows, and it's a committee me out to the community and governance. We went through that through the show that can show that this person is not politically aligned. The president should come out to the persons from the community councils across the island. I know previous episode you could go back and see where he spoke about the community governments. If you want me to go over it, you can go over it. That's one. Once that person is then selected, then there should be a body under them. I call it the guardianship. You could call it whatever you want. Those persons, they will have a guardian of education, guardian of energy, etc., etc., that will hold any government BRD accountable. The president term should be 6 terms. This is where it should be 6 terms. Because if a government is 5, then the president has a transition year. So if the BLP put in the cybercrime bill, me use a better bill. If the BLP put in a bill whereby it says that we're going to take away certain concessions to youth groups, and then the DLP doesn't want to put it back in, the president should have something called the presidential fund that they can say, listen, this is too essential. We are going to put that back because it's necessary, not because of the government. Case in point, when the DLP took away the UB fees, the president should have that capacity. Another thing, I believe that the president should have referendum power. So if like how Marcia and the lawyer opposition been marching for the cybercrime bill and the wiretapping bill, we should be able to come to the president and say we have this much petitions, this much citizens, right? We have this much petitions, we have this much information. Then no, the bill is paused, so that there's a national referendum, and then we could decide, okay, we don't have this bill, we have that bill. That is the power of the president. Another thing I do not like, right, that estimates or this back and forth, or is this back and forth between B and D, where if B is the government, then the D is asked questions. I do not like it. I believe there should be an independent body pulled from the same guardianship to ask the questions to the government independent. The guardianship should also be able to come and investigate corruption. Make sure the guardianship and the opposition to investigate corruption or the government and hold anybody who is a minister, etc., accountable. So if there is proof that you were corrupt, a letter will be sent to the prime minister, but you will be placed on a restriction until your hearing, because everyone has the right to be heard. That is the type of president they want to see in Barbados. That is the type of Barbados they want to see, the type of republic they want to see. So it's not that I am just accepting whatever. It's just that I know where you and I, Dawn, can't remember her name right now, Janine, help me, Marcia, the other young lady, can't remember her name already.
Shakwani.
Right, all the rest, all of us, we are going to get the country there. But the see thing is about it, right? That's why we always say, watch the spook out the door. Wait your turn, claim me and come, and we can get there. But for now, I think Jeffrey Boss is the best option. That's what I have to say.